2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to PackReacts. I'm your coach, Jeremy, along with our other host, Mike, and we got PackReacts with a special guest, Jason, here.
Hello, everybody.
We're talking here about the Packers-Saints game preview. We also talking a little bit of the last week game of the Packers-Falcons game, which was a disappointment for Packer fans. Talking a little bit Jordan Love. We also talking with Jason of how he became a Saints fan and what he loves being with the Saints, especially Drew Brees, and some playoff moments we talking there too. I know Jason's not going to love some of that, but we're going to talk about some of his good moments. Some of his good moments. But before we start, let's hit the intro, ladies and gentlemen. Where did I put it?
This is Tom Grossi, and you're watching the PackReacts podcast.
Let's go.
Hello, everybody. Once again, welcome to PackReacts. As I just mentioned, we're going to be talking Packers Saints preview this week, and we got our special guest, Jason, here.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Woo.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Jason. So we're live on Twitter, we're live on YouTube, and it's a fun week here in Packers Saints land. It's not every year that the Packers and Saints meet, so it's always a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
You want to kick it off, Jeremy?
Yep.
How we introduce our guests?
Yes. So, folks, what we always like to do when we have a special guest come on, whether we had Wes Hoskowitz, Big B, other folks we had John on a couple weeks ago, which John will be on next week. If John's watching, shout out John. We haven't that's what we do. But when we always talk for our special guests, we always like to ask them a couple questions of how they became a sports fan, their passion. So the first question I always like to ask my guest speakers is how they became a Saints, or as in Jason's case, how they became a Saints fan, but how they became a football fan in general. Jason, how did you become a Saints fan?
So I grew up in a house where my family really loved football. And I'm from New York, so there's a lot of New York sports fans in my house. But my aunt and uncle were always Saints fans. And so I kind of became a Saints fan. I started following the team. I'm a big fan of Drew Brees, of course. Drew Brees is, my favorite quarterback, favorite player of all time. And I've just been following them ever since. We've had a lot of lows, a lot of bad moments, but I think we're in a good spot right now.
I don't think you were alive for the Aints part, right? Or maybe just right in the beginning of your life?
I wasn't able to see our real good year, our good years, the 2009, the 2010 season where we won the Super Bowl. I've rewatched that game, but we haven't been back since, unfortunately.
Back when Manning was what's his name? Peyton Manning's father. I don't even know his first name.
Archie.
It's Archie Manning, right? Yeah. I was thinking, hey, wait, that's the new one, the one that's coming up, the one that plays for Texas.
Archie.
But he's named after the father. That's why they have the same name. It's Archie, yeah. All right, anyway. But at that time, there was a famous picture of a guy with a, paper bag over his head, and it said the Aints or something. And that was back when Archie Manning was the quarterback. They were really bad back then.
Yeah, I'd say that was probably a pretty tough time to be a Saints fan. But there's been tough times in recent years too, with some things that were kind of out of our control that happened in the playoffs. But
where in New York are you from? Just out of curiosity.
I'm from Long Island.
Long Island? Okay. Yeah, I live in Westchester, so I'm from New York as well. So definitely, understand the Jets Giants. Being an NFL fan of a team that's not the Jets Giants and growing up in New York, it's fun, but it's definitely interesting. And especially as a Packers fan, I was telling Jeremy, he knows this story, but one of the ways I got really big into the Packers was just going against my friends who were Giants fans. And, in the NFC Championship game, we had Brett Favre. And then later on, when we played them in the playoffs with Rodgers and lost both of those games, that was not fun. But we did win in the playoffs when I was in college. I don't know if you remember, Jeremy, the Randall Cobb, Hail Mary into the end zone. That was a good game in the playoffs. I beat the Giants, but we didn't get many wins against the Giants in the playoffs, unfortunately.
No, we did not.
Yeah, that must have been tough for you, being a Packers fan and losing
Yeah.
to the Giants, being from New York.
It definitely was tough. But I wouldn't change it I would change that we lost to them. But I wouldn't change growing up in New York and all that because, that competition is what makes sports fun and what makes you really passionate about it. If you weren't competitive like that and had to deal with, other people and trying to beat them, it wouldn't be as fun. So it was a good way to grow up. So.
Mm-hmm.
Wish it could have been one or two more Packers fans though. I needed some help. Were there any Saints fans that you went to school with?
There was my buddy Thomas was a big Saints fan, and so we were able to bond over that. But not a lot. A lot of Jets fans. Jets Giants was a big one. My family were more Jets fans.
Okay. All right, well, that's cool. My college roommate actually was a Saints fan. He's actually a Dolphins Saints fan. He grew up in Florida, but his family is French Cajun. A lot of them settled in the Louisiana area. So they're historically from Louisiana. So he's also a Saints fan. So yeah, the Saints are a fun team. They seem to be decent this year. Actually, they had a few years where they were a little bit on and off, but they're looking decent. I'm a little bit worried about this game. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I mean, the retirement of Drew Brees a few years back, we knew it was going to be tough. We thought, Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston, obviously both those don't work out. But we're going into this year. Derek Carr, I have a lot of confidence in Derek Carr. I think he'll be able to run our offense. I think he didn't have the best game last week, but we were able to pull through. Specifically when he threw into triple coverage, that wasn't great. But I think I have a lot of confidence in Derek Carr. Plus, we don't have Kamara for the first 3 weeks, so you guys are lucky. You don't have to face us with Kamara. But I know 2-0, no Kamara. I mean, I'll take that.
Yeah, I was actually watching that game on Monday. 2 Monday night games in week 2. That was an interesting development there. I didn't actually know that was happening. But, obviously it was against the Panthers, who are not a great team, but Saints look good. Their defense looks good. Michael Thomas is back, and he's playing decently. I don't think he's the Michael Thomas before, but playing decently. And that Shaheed kid is good that they have. But running back, they're pretty light right now, right? Because Jamal Williams just got hurt. Kamara's out. Who's going to be their starter on Sunday?
I think they have that rookie. What's his name? I'm drawing a blank on his name, but I think they have a rookie that's going to start. But yeah, that's a tough blow for us. I mean, he wasn't doing great, Jamal Williams, but him leaving is going to impact us. But I think Michael Thomas has looked solid. I think he's hasn't got hurt yet, so there's that. He's 2 games into the season, so we'll take that. But I think he's getting a lot of targets, feeding him the ball, some on his slants, he likes. But we also got Olave and then Rashid Shaheed, who's
Olave.
So I mean, he can stretch the field. So
is Jimmy Graham getting any playing time?
I think he's gotten in. I don't think he's gotten a reception, or maybe he's gotten one reception. We have Jalen Johnson, who's a really solid tight end,
right?
And so he's getting most of the minutes, but
it doesn't seem like he has any stats whatsoever. Jimmy Graham, Packers, great. He's really the Saints, great. But we had a few years of Jimmy Graham in Green Bay, and that was an interesting experience. I was real excited when we got him. I remember running around my house, yeah, we got Jimmy Graham. But, short-lived excitement. Let's just say that.
Yeah, Saints legend. It's just nice to have him back on the team, even though he's not, he's not old Jimmy Graham, but just him in the locker room. He's a big locker room guy.
Right. Okay, I have a question. So, how do you guys know each other? You go to college together? Is that it? I see similar background over there. I'm assuming it's a similar dorm.
Yeah. Okay. We both played tennis together.
Oh, you're both on the tennis team. Okay.
Yeah.
Jeremy and I had a great tennis match in Delaware. So Jeremy met at his summer job in Bethany Beach, Delaware.
Yep.
And I went out there earlier this year, and Jeremy was working. So we had a tennis match in their community over there. I won. No, I didn't. But Jerry, I did give you a run for your money, right?
No, you did not. I let him win a game. That's all I'll say.
You didn't let me win anything. You didn't let me win anything. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I won one game out of whatever we played, but
it was the first of 2 sets when I beat you 6-1, 6-0.
Okay. Well, I did okay. I did better than I expected. So, I should have played. I never played in college or high school. Probably should have taken some lessons. I actually played lessons, and then I got bored with it and didn't do it. But I think I'm decent for not having any lessons or like being on a team or anything, right?
I give you that.
Yeah. So if I would have honed my craft a little bit, I think I could have been okay. That's all I got to say.
Okay. Jason, with how you mentioned Drew Brees is your favorite quarterback of all time, what makes him just the great quarterback? Just watch him from a Saints fan presence.
I think growing up, I just think Drew Brees, obviously incredible quarterback, led the NFL record for passing yards for the longest time. He's not only is he a good quarterback, but you could tell he's a good leader, and he's a real stand-up guy on and off the field. So I think growing up, someone to look up to. I think Drew Brees was a really good one for me because just how he carried himself with wins, losses. He's at the end of the day, he was a good person first, and then great football player, obviously.
Now, what has been, as you're mentioning with like the highs and lows, what has been the problem with the Saints for many years of like Drew Brees? Can he go back to zero? Can he go on deep playoff run? What has been the problem, you would say, as a Saints fan?
Well, in Drew Brees's, when Drew Brees was having some really good years, our defense was actually the problem back in the day. Obviously, we don't have that problem anymore, as our defense is a bunch of dogs, a whole lot of dogs on defense. But we didn't have a good defense when Drew Brees was, lighting up the stat sheet, and our offense was usually, top 5 unit in the NFL. A lot of years there. And then, I think, certain things didn't go our way, and we had, good regular seasons. We choked in the playoffs a few times. There was the Rams game, and there's the Vikings game, which that's on us, but but the Rams, that one not on us. But I just think that, and also towards the end of Drew Brees' career, obviously he wasn't the same player like most guys are. He struggled to really like throw that deep ball, and so there was a lot of and he was still a great quarterback. So it was a lot of Kamara out of the backfield, slants to Michael Thomas. But I just think if we had the defense we have now, when Drew Brees was Drew Brees' prime, I think a few more Super Bowls would have been won.
Mm-hmm. Now, with the 2011 season, where that was one of the greatest quarterback seasons in NFL history of all time, do you think Drew Brees should have won the MVP that year?
I do think so. I think Drew Brees deserved the MVP. Maybe he got robbed of the MVP a little bit. But I think Drew Brees historically, as he was overlooked for a lot of MVPs. He had a lot of good seasons where he led the league in passing yards, a lot of passing touchdowns, and minimal mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always that season will always interest me because that season could have gone so many ways of like MVP wise. I mean, our quarterback Aaron Rodgers won it obviously, but it was like so many different ways that award could have gone that year. But it was Brady, Rodgers, I mentioned Manning up there too. Like so many great guys. I mean, Rodgers just outdueled the guys despite the playoff run, but he still got the job done for the MVP wise, not the playoffs for that year. But yeah, it's just always interesting to see for that season, especially Drew Brees, because what I always think of Drew Brees is Mr. Statistics. You look him on the stat sheet, he's very high up. He leads it, whether it's the completion percentage, the passing yards, the touchdowns. Like he was the all-time leader in touchdowns for passing TDs at one point. Amazing to see that for Drew Brees in his career.
Yeah, I mean, he was, Drew Brees, he was consistent. He he had, his first few years on the Chargers, but once he got to New Orleans and, paired up with Sean Payton, who's no longer around either, obviously Broncos coach now, that was a duo. Those guys, Sean Payton, amazing play caller. And, they we were a unit. We, an amazing offense for a decade.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I did have one more question, then I'll give it to Mike.
Yeah.
How would you have you ever been to a Saints game first?
That was actually my
yeah, I've actually never been to I've been to a Saints preseason game many years ago, but a dream of mine is to go to New Orleans and go into the Superdome and actually see a game there in person and like experience like that atmosphere. I think that would be just like really incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So the preseason game was in New York, or
yeah, it was
New Orleans. Got it.
Yeah.
What was your go ahead?
I was just gonna ask. Like, I've always wondered, like that fan base for the Saints is like one of the loudest in the stadium ever. Like, that's just amazing. I mean, you have the one. I forget what's the one guy who always does the whistle blowing like all the time. I forget what his name is for the Saints, but it's just amazing to see how big the atmosphere goes, because when you need that place to go loud and crazy, it gets going. It never stops. It's just amazing to see that. Like, every time I think of Super Bowl, that's the place where it should be played every year at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the fact that we got the dome, so everything is we have the amazing fan base and we have the dome, so the noise, the decibel levels. When you go to New Orleans for a big game, they show the decibel level statistics, like the stats, like how loud it's getting, and it's just always incredible, and that's why it's such a tough place to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, did you ever ask him a question?
Yeah. I guess that whole Sean Payton kind of breakup that happened. Give me your thoughts on that, because that was interesting. Obviously, you said like Drew Brees and Sean Payton were the duo, and Drew Brees obviously got up in his career that last season. You could see he just wasn't himself. His arm basically was dead. But Sean Payton, like, it's kind of weird. Like, he went and became a commentator for a year, and now is back with the Broncos. And the Saints got something for him, right? They traded him to the Broncos, right?
Yeah, because he was still under contract, so
right.
I think he decided, he decided, with Drew Brees retiring, and I guess he just wasn't really feeling, like being the Saints coach anymore. So he retires, becomes a commentator for a year, but then, he's still on contract. So we were able to get something for him in a trade with Denver. But I just think he wasn't, it's a completely new era now of New Orleans Saints football with Brees and Peyton gone. So I think he, so many years with the Saints that he decided that, he wanted to try something else.
Yeah. And they got the first and second of Denver, and then they got Denver's third back. Sorry, so Denver traded the first and second for Sean Payton and the Saints third. So pretty good trade value there for a coach. You don't see a trade of a coach all the time. So that's an interesting transaction.
Yeah, and we'll see if that pays off for Denver. Right now, it's not looking great to start the season, but Sean Payton's obviously a very good coach, and we'll have to see if he's able to do his thing in Denver.
Right. Yeah, I think Russell Wilson had a little bit of a bounce back game in week 2. Still lost, but I think that's the best he's probably looked at in a Denver uniform. So we'll see if Sean Payton could get something out of him. It's interesting because from the Packers' perspective, I always kind of like marry Sean Payton together with McCarthy. They kind of came in at the same time. I think Sean Payton was actually in the running for the Packers position.
Yes,
and he decided to pick the Saints over the Packers. So so that's interesting because they kind of their careers mirror each other in a lot of ways, and they both left their respective team from back then for another team. And McCarthy's looking great now. And
yeah,
talk about taking a year off, and that's it. They both of them took a year off. McCarthy kind of just studied, I guess, and focused on himself and his family. Sean Payton took the broadcasting route. But I've been impressed with McCarthy, especially this season. I mean, the Cowboys might be the best team in the league right now. I really think they might be. I'm not ready to put the 49ers as above the Cowboys, I'll be honest. So I'm impressed with the Cowboys. So, but yeah, that's my point, is that I think Sean Payton and McCarthy have similar trajectories, which also puts the Saints and the Packers in similar trajectories. I think we've kind of had, the same level of success almost for the past 10, 15 or so years. So, Hasn't been a bad time to be a Saints fan. Hasn't been a bad time to be a Packers fan. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
I would agree. Two high-level coaches, and and obviously McCarthy now. I think McCarthy's he's a play caller, right, for the Cowboys right now, and that's working out really well with Dak. Dak's looking good. The offense is rolling, so he's continuing his legacy.
Mm-hmm. I was to show you how the NFL, probably the most important thing other than the quarterback is your coach. Like it's such a team sport that you need a good leader, somebody that rallies everybody, somebody that they want to play behind, but also, takes command of the game, understands it, clock management, right? Play calling. And Sean Payton was always up there. Brandon Allen right now, he was a defensive coordinator, right? So now the Saints are a little bit more defensive focused, and it goes to show their defense was real good, as I'm sure you had mentioned. So obviously you have Cam Jordan, you got Tyrann Mathieu now, Lattimore. How's Lattimore playing? Because he fell off for a little bit there, right?
Lattimore's looked very good the first 2 games of the season. And we just our defense. We have a lot of ball hawks on defense. We we fly at guys. We fly to the ball. I think our defense is definitely, I would say, a top 5 unit. And I think you're looking at our D line, which we lose guys like Trey Hendrickson. We lost that on our D line. But I think Cam Jordan, he's going to be a career Saint, and he's still doing his thing. Disrupting other quarterbacks. And then our secondary, I just think is, better than really it's ever been before, with Tyrann Mathieu, Lante Taylor, Lattimore. So countless guys. And Demario Davis at linebacker, he's quietly always a dog, leading, I think probably one of the league leaders in tackles, if I had to say.
Don't forget about Packers great on the defense of the Saints, Ty Summers. Ty Summers is on the Saints right now, so that's good.
Crazy. I did have 2 more questions, then we'll start getting into the Mike had more questions after that. We'll get into the Packers Saints preview. But for me, Jason, what is your favorite Saint game that you've ever watched besides the Super Bowl and playoff run that year?
Well, that's a tough one. Yeah, I mean, it was always very enjoyable beating the Buccaneers with Tom Brady in the regular season, because the way we would beat them was with our defense, and Tom Brady would always be, throwing his fit because he couldn't figure out our defense. Obviously, we couldn't do the same thing in the playoffs, which that would have made that game one of my all-time favorites if we were able to knock Tom out that year. But I just think any game where we get to play Tom Brady, and we had C.J. Gardner-Johnson on the squad, and he was in Tom's head. But I just think, as somebody who doesn't really, I know Tom Brady is the GOAT, but I just don't, not a huge Tom Brady fan. So to beat him in a Buccaneers uniform, that was very good.
Mm-hmm. And then going with the season, what is the expectations for your team here? What do you want to see out of this team? Like, obviously, everyone wants a Super Bowl. Are you looking for just a playoff win, just try to get a little bit more out of that deep run?
I think, yeah. I mean, we all know the NFC South is wide open. Yep. Obviously, there's the 3-2-0 teams right now, but I'm very confident that we will be the best team in the NFC South. We're going to win the NFC South. So I want to see us do that first. And then I think, once we're in the playoffs, I just want to see improvement from Derek Carr throughout the season. I wanted him to form those connections with the receivers. And I think, Kamara is such a big part of the offense that once he's back, I think that'll be a good look at, how our offense will run with Derek Carr and Kamara. And I think, Olave is very good. He's our number 1 guy now. Michael Thomas could be considered our number 2 guy, and then Rashid Shaheed is a deep ball threat, and he's a speed guy. So and obviously our defense. So I think when we have a defense like this, for me, we got to win the NFC South, and then playoffs, we see what happens. I think anything can happen in the playoffs. So
definitely. So now we'll head into Packers Saints preview here. So heading into this game here, Saints are 2-0, Packers are 1-1. Packers come off the choking loss to the Falcons last week. Saints won against the Panthers Monday Night Football. It was good defense. I saw from that Saints defense. The offense was a little annoying to watch. Derek Carr wasn't being the best guy out there, I'll say, especially from fantasy perspective wise. You fantasy folks out there. But for the Saints in this game, you got a couple injuries. You got Marcus May, I believe, is out the next 3 games, so he'll be out this game. Kamara's out. We already mentioned Jamal Williams is out. The Packers side, Aaron Jones has practiced today, but we'll see if he'll play Sunday. And Christian Watts didn't practice today, but that was expected just so he can have a little rest day. Dave Bakhtiari is also not going to be playing this week, so we'll still have to see if the offense defensively for the Packers are fine.
Wait, Bakhtiari's not playing?
No, Bakhtiari is not expected to play.
Really? I didn't even see it.
It wasn't because of the whole field, like no turf, like how Rodgers got the injury. It wasn't because of that. It was his knee was swelling up, and all the reports now show he's not expected to play, which hurts us. And I also forgot to mention Elton Jenkins is out, so he got hurt last week. So that's a huge loss for Packers O-line here. Jason, what is the game plan you're looking forward to for the Saints against the Packers here?
Yeah, here's what we need to do. I think it's honestly pretty simple. Right now we are the 4th worst team in red zone, like scoring the red zone, converting, getting touchdowns in the red zone, and we're 2-0. So I think that says a lot that we're not converting in the red zone, and yet we're still 2-0. And our first week was a gritty win against the Titans, which is never an easy team to beat.
Yeah.
But I would say we're getting down there. We get in the red zone. We get in for 6. And not go behind, fall behind early. I think if we get a lead, I know Jordan Love doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but I think against our defense, I could see him making some mistakes. So I would say, I think we got to play our game. We got to have our offense going, and we have trust in the defense to stop the Packers.
Mm-hmm. Mike, I'll let you take the side for the Packers here. What's the game plan going into this game for the Packers, Coach?
Get a shutout. Do you know that? Why, Jeremy? Do you know why?
Oh, I know why. It's because every time you go to a Packers game, the opponents can never score whatsoever.
That's correct. So, Jason, I don't know if you know this. I'm actually going to be at the game on Sunday.
Really?
I just moved my flight actually to leave tomorrow. So tomorrow I'll be on a flight to Milwaukee and driving up. So I've gone to – this is bad news for the Saints. I've gone to 3 games at Lambeau. 2 were regular season games. 1 was preseason. Let's ignore the preseason game for this aspect. It was against the Patriots this year. They didn't even finish the game. So games that completed, right? I've gone to 2 games, and they both somehow were shutouts that the Packers got. They're the only shutouts the Packers have gotten in like the past 10 years, and I was at both of those games. So, it's an interesting trend I've been on, and I'll be at this game. So if the Saints don't score, you can blame me for that. No, but in all honesty, I'm a little bit worried. I'll be honest. The Saints, I thought, looked pretty good on Monday night. I think they got a good offense. I think Derek Carr probably not going to win any MVPs anytime soon, but he's also a pretty reliable quarterback, and they have a pretty good young receiver core, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Packers are going to bounce back defensively from a really bad game last week against the Falcons. Saints don't have the running back, squad that the Falcons do. John Robinson, I think, is the real deal, and the Saints are probably going to be, dealing with him for a long time. We only deal with him once every few years or so. But yeah, I think the Saints will probably have a hard time running on the Packers, especially with the Packers' defensive line. So the Packers, the big thing for the big question I have is what happened with Jair Alexander last week, Jeremy?
He was game blown coverage out there. He was not himself.
He was not even playing.
No.
You and I probably could have played better coverage.
Exactly.
He wasn't even trying to stop the run. I was really disappointed with Jair Alexander last game. I thought it was pretty unacceptable.
Yep.
But hopefully we get Aaron Jones back. Maybe there's an outside chance Watson plays. He said that Bakhtiari is not going to play. I'm not sure. I didn't see that, but I wouldn't doubt that either.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's going to be a good game. I think the Packers, obviously, it's going to be a fun atmosphere with it being the home opener.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to ask me who I put my money on, I'd probably put my money on the Saints at this point. But I think the Packers definitely have a chance. Yeah, I don't even know if that answers your question, but
I mean, I'm saying the game plan, so you're giving me a game plan here.
All right, so game plan. Okay, sorry. For the Packers, I think we need to stop the pass on the Saints. Right? But again, I don't think they're going to run the ball that much. So I think you got to keep Olave in check.
Yep.
Right? Try to force a few turnovers from Derek Carr. I think that's definitely a possibility. Like you said, throwing into double, triple coverage. If you can get turnovers, that's going to change the game. On the offensive side of the ball for the Packers, hopefully we get Aaron Jones back and kind of take the recipe from week one. I mean, the amount of usage he had in the second half of week one, I think, is kind of the sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how the injury is going to affect him. He might be on a pitch count. But if you could get Aaron Jones back in the game, A.J. Dillon, I was not impressed with his performance last week. So a little bit less of A.J. Dillon, hopefully. I was going to say, Jason, hopefully, I know Kamara, I'm not sure if he's going to take the trip or not. Well, he's suspended, right? So he's probably not going to take the trip at all. Yeah, but he needs to teach A.J. Dillon some, balance techniques. Because that's Kamara's game, right? His balance, staying on his feet. That's big in his game, right?
Yeah, really balanced player, great runner, and arguably even better receiver out of the backfield. So
I'm just talking about like physical balance. Like,
he's extremely balanced. He's got a lot of skills.
Yeah, like I saw some video where like he that's in his training regimen. That's what they really focus on, balance. He gets on like balls and like has to keep himself up. That's important as a running back, because you're almost like a bowling ball, right? You have to stay up because someone's going to hit you. You got to be able to kind of bounce off these hits or bounce off a block. You run into your own guy and keep moving, keep your feet moving. A.J. Dillon, though, Jeremy. Oh, man, we probably lost that game because for a lot of reasons. But if A.J. Dillon could have stayed on his feet and moved the ball just an extra yard or two, like on that fourth down play I'm thinking of, where he just kind of lunges and falls, like unacceptable because his game is that bowling ball. He's got, what is he called, quadzilla, right? He's got the quads, he's got the build for it. So I need you to stay up and run through some guys, not fall over your own feet. So I think he needs to get it. He needs to maybe pay Kamara some during these 3 weeks that he's suspended, he should have been having Kamara kind of teach him on his balance because A.J. Dillon has not been impressive, and I think that's looking more and more like a bust as we move forward. I don't think the Packers re-sign him, unfortunately.
No,
because he's a fan favorite, but
not
a fan favorite on the football field. More for what he's done outside the football field.
Mayor Door County, ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Door County.
Door County is beautiful. I went there; it's very nice, but he might be a mayor of. Walking out the door if he doesn't start playing. A.J. Dillon has not been the answer so far. But, I just want to see the Packers be balanced, not try to do too much. One thing I was really disappointed with in the Falcons game, that last drive.
Yeah.
Love really looked like the pressure hit him, got to him in that 2-minute kind of situation. And couldn't even get a completion. So, I think this is a young team, and then if we don't get out to an early lead and kind of coast, we might have an issue trying to come back and win some games that are close. So, I think you just need to have a 4-quarter game, play like we played against Chicago and not like we played against the Falcons, because although we had a chance to win that game, we probably should have won that game. I think we played pretty handedly.
Yeah. Definitely think so. I think the big question for the defensive matchup, obviously, for the Packers is going to be how to recover Chris Olave, Rashid, and Michael Thomas. That's going to be the big question to see. I'm also disappointed by this player, Mike didn't mention it, was Darnell Savage. On that trick play where you got to pick that or deflect that ball, he did not. And I need to see better out of the safeties here for that. I mean, I know we're not that great of our safeties, but Darnell Savage, he looked great in week one, making the tackles. Last week, he was terrible. It's off and on. the best you want to say Darnell Stout is average. He's an average safety. That's what he is at that point. But I think that's going to be the big question there for Packers defense-wise. Packers offense is going to be the offensive line. Can they hold it down against Cameron Jordan? Zach Tom looked phenomenal last week. But who's going to be taking the left tackle? Because we had plenty of issues last week. Rasheed Walker didn't know how to tackle. He let a defensive man go right past him and stand there in the middle like a statue. But can't have that. Cannot have that, especially with this young offense. And they got to do better. They just got to do better. I think Love, for him to succeed in this game, is don't turn the ball like Jason wants those turnovers in the game. Take care of the run bits and just take your time. Like, don't rush it, because every time I've seen this Packers team rush it, it has not gone well in the drives. Take your time. Win the time possession. I think that's going to be a very key thing for the Packers. Win that time possession. It's going to eliminate opportunities for the Saints. It's going to make that defense more tired, even though they're a good defense. You make that defense stay on the field, they are not going to be the best defense in football. You're just not. You're limiting opportunities. You got to do that, Jordan Love. Got to do that. Packers do that, they have a good chance of winning. But like Mike said, if I was a money man, I'd bet the Saints this week. But I'm not a betting person, so I'm still taking my Packers here. But that's going to be the key thing for the Packers. Jordan Love, can you get the job done? That's the question. I don't know.
I think the left side of that offensive line is a good point.
Yeah.
Like you said, maybe no Bakhtiari. There's going to be no Elgin Jenkins. He hurt his MCL. He's probably out for probably plus 6 weeks. He's probably going to go on the IR pretty soon.
Yep.
Surprised they haven't put him on it already. The offensive line is a concern to me, especially going against Cam Jordan, going against some of these guys that the Saints have. I think that's going to be tough, and I don't think that the offensive line is going to hold up. So Jordan Love's got to get this ball out quick, hit his checkdowns, take advantage of Luke Musgrave. I think having Aaron Jones would be big in this game if he can play. So hopefully he can. I mean, he was a limited participant today. Yesterday he didn't participate, so we'll see. But also we don't want to rush him too much. A hamstring injury can definitely tend to nag, a player over time. So we definitely want to have him for the long haul. But it's a big game for the Packers and a big game for the Saints. The Saints have a chance to go 3-0. It's a packed division where 3 teams are 2-0, and the Packers had a chance to be the sole team
in the NFC North.
In the NFC North, and instead now we're tied with the Lions, and Saints and Vikings don't. The Bears and Vikings don't look promising at all, especially after the Bears defensive coordinator got raided by the FBI.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
You know what's funny is, did you see who the FBI agent was that raided him? Apparently,
yeah, it was Tillman, I believe, right?
Pat Tillman, or no, sorry, not Pat, Charles Tillman.
Charles Tillman.
Apparently, he's an FBI agent now. So that's interesting. I don't know what the issue is, but yeah.
Yeah, the Bears are in shambles over there. So
I know.
You must be happy about that, both of you.
Yeah, and I'm more happy that the Vikings are 0-2.
Exactly.
The Bears, they suck anyway. They're a big rival in theory, but they're terrible. So you got to be good before we worry about you.
Yeah, I mean, high hopes for Justin Fields this year, and he's just disappointed again.
Yeah, he's a running back. He's a decent running back, but he's not a thrower of the football. That's for sure.
Talk about that trade too. Trading the first overall pick for DJ Moore now.
Yeah, that's looking real. Well, it's actually looking okay because Bryce Young's not looking too good. So that's the question. Apparently, I was reading that they can't even. They don't even have the QB sneak in their playbook. The Saints, because Bryce Young's too short or something. That they just can't run it with a 5 quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe they'll go 0-16 again, the Bears, and then they'll get what's his name, Caleb Williams, right? That's his name.
Yeah, Caleb Williams. He'll be a boss with Chicago though.
You think?
At this point, when every guy gets drafted to Chicago, they turn out to be a bust because they could have drafted Patrick Mahomes. Nope. They could have drafted Deshaun Watson, which many expected to be good. They took Trubisky. Did not turn out well. They had Jay Cutler back in the day. Look how that turned out. He's a great Green Bay Packer legend. There was the one guy in the Super Bowl. I can't remember his name back then. I think it was Rex Grossman, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Again, like nobody's. Like pretty much, you had Jake McNabb, and he wasn't that all great. Like, no offense, Jim, you weren't that all great with the Bears. What the Bears are known for is their defense, and they haven't had that defense really. I mean, 2018, yeah, but look what happened. Double doink.
The best position on the Bears of recent history. Guess what position? The player that what position did he play?
Say it again.
So the best player on the Bears of recent history, right? What position did he play?
I will say special teams. Kick returner.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I think of.
Devin Hester.
Yes. So that goes to show you your best player is a player that hardly is on the field more for special teams. What do you call it? But yeah, the Bears have not been good as of late. So they're you can only hate your little brother so much if they're not good. If they keep losing, who cares? So you forget about them pretty quick. But the Vikings, I'm happy to see them 0-2.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the Lions. They're Lions. We don't know what they're going to be doing. There's like that team that's in there, but they could be good. They could be bad. Who knows?
Yeah, I think the NFC North is wide open and the South is wide open. I think for different reasons. I think the NFC North is pretty bad. And the South, I don't think it's great either, but they're all like the same level of mediocre. I think so far they've all had a pretty easy schedule, So
Yeah, I think the Falcons have looked surprisingly pretty good. They've looked solid. I wouldn't have thought they'd be 2-0 at this point. But I still like our chances. I think the Panthers they still need a few years until they're going to be anything, if they are going to be. I think Bryce Young. I think even he got injured, right? So I think Andy Dalton's starting for them this week. But yeah, I just feel like the Buccaneers are just kind of fraudulent to me. I don't think they should be 2-0. Baker Mayfield is not that guy. I'm confident that they will finish third or last in this division.
Now, what team do you hate the most in that division?
I mean, past few years it's been Buccaneers for obvious reasons, but I think similar to your feeling about the Bears, I think that's going to kind of be the Buccaneers now for the NFC South. I think the Buccaneers, I don't think they will be that good, and there's not with Brady gone, there's not too much hate about them. But if I had to say, I'd probably say Falcons now is a team to hate.
Mm-hmm. Now, all these years, you've seen the Panthers in the Super Bowl, you've seen the Bucs in the Super Bowl, you've seen the Falcons in the Super Bowl. Which one were you most you rooted for them to lose heavily in the Super Bowl? What team was that? You just not want them to win, even though if they won or lost.
I would say Tom Brady and the Buccaneers were very easy to root against. Did not like that team at all. Obviously, big rivalry in the season where we had their number twice, and then third time. It's tough to beat a team three times in one season, so they ended up beating us. I'd say the Falcons. In that Super Bowl, I wasn't rooting for them, but I wasn't really rooting for anybody. I think Matt Ryan was he's a likable guy, and I didn't dislike anyone too much on that team. And obviously they play in the Pats, so it's pretty easy not to like them. And then as for the Panthers, that just seems distant now. Cam Newton led Panthers that just doesn't seem right. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, Panthers are they're not the team anymore. They just aren't. Bucks, Brady's gone, so they don't have to worry about that. Falcons, they were good, especially when Julio Jones. That's what I always remember the Falcons for. Is Julio Jones, whether it was against the Saints, we're playing well. That's the guy.
Yeah, Falcons are young. They got a lot of young talent. They got Robinson. They got Ritter. So I just feel like things are definitely looking up for them. But I think as of for now, I think this is our division to lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Now, at the time when the Falcons drafted Bijan Robinson, were you happy that they drafted him, or you were just like, oh my gosh, why did they make that draft pick?
No, I think honestly, obviously, there people were kind of surprised by it, but Robinson was he was extremely good in college, and now he's translating that to the NFL. So I just think it was a solid pick for them. I think they're showing why they picked him, and he's producing. So I wouldn't say I was particularly happy about it. And now seeing him play, I'm definitely not happy about it because he looks like he's going to be a top running back in the league.
Yeah, we'll have to see for a couple years for that. The interesting thing I like to mention about this since the Packers and the Saints rarely play against each other. Last time the Packers played the Saints was in 2020. Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback at the time, in New Orleans with no fans at the time. It was the one where they played in Jacksonville because of the hurricane.
Yeah.
They got blown out by Jameis Winston, and then the year before that, it was against it was in the Saints dome. Packers won by 7. Then years before that, it was Brett Hundley. He got terribleness against the Saints. Then it was the 2014 in Superdome. I think the Saints won in overtime, and then 2011 opening week, first night. I think it was Sunday Night Football. Packers win. Packers games have been close over the years, despite the Jameis Winston, the Brett Hundley game, though.
Yeah, obviously Jameis Winston. We thought maybe he was the replacement for Drew Brees. He wasn't. I mean, no one could replace Drew Brees, but we thought maybe he would take over as quarterback and kind of be the future. But obviously he wasn't. But I think the spot we're in now, I think you're looking at two completely different Packer and Saints teams. That this is kind of like a new era of football for both these teams. So I think it'll be another good game.
Mm-hmm. Now, as we were mentioning with the Drew Brees, all of them, you had I know you're not going to like this, but the year with the Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Drew Brees, the three-headed monster nickname, as most people would say. How confident was that year for you? Because I feel like that was the most confident year I've seen for the Saints, to win a Super Bowl chance out of all the other years, even when they lost the 49ers in overtime in 2012, besides Super Bowl.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara burst onto the scene, and I think Mike touched on it with his balance. People were not taking Kamara down. He's not like a physically imposing back when you look at him, but the amount of tackles he was able to break and stay on his feet. People did not have an answer for Kamara the first few years that he was in the league, and I think he was a hidden gem when we drafted him out of Tennessee, and I think he's only shown that he's that guy. And obviously for Michael Thomas, he was also nobody could cover Michael Thomas. People like to talk trash about him and say he only ran slants, but if that's all he was doing, then maybe they could have covered him better.
Definitely, yeah. That was the one year when I was because the Packers were not good that year because Rodgers went out, obviously, because the collarbone against Anthony Barr in the first couple weeks of football. I just remember watching the Saints. This is one of the best teams I've seen in a while, offensively, but defensively also good. The one thing I always remember about the Saints defense is the Marshawn Lattimore butt pick where he intercepts it on his butt and then he gets it. That was amazing to see how many turnovers they were getting, all of that. They were just doing so good, and that was just the year for them until unfortunately they lost in the playoffs. Usually it's the Vikings, which I can understand you hate the Vikings now. That's what we are right now. We always hope the Vikings to suck. Rams, so close there. Obviously the ref was involved there. Then the Niners back in 2012. I feel like that was the good. Besides the Rams one, I think that was the second best chance for the Saints to run it back to get to the Super Bowl, maybe.
Yeah, I think you look at so many of those years. Those could have easily been years where in the Super Bowl, and I think we could have won the Super Bowl. Looking at those, with how just good our offense was, and then our defense was there too. And obviously, in Drew Brees' final year, he was, he wasn't great, but we still had a great team. So he was able to hit the checkdowns. He was still throwing the short ball well. It was just the deep ball that was gone. And I think that at the end of the day, that's what killed us in Drew Brees' final loss when we lost to the Buccaneers in the playoffs. That the fact that he didn't have that deep ball, and teams kind of knew that, so they were able to. When we got down in that game, they were able to lock us up pretty good.
Yeah, also I won't forget also the Bears with the Saints game and Mitchell Trubisky wins the MVP award. I remember, which never understand Nickelodeon why they do that because it's just stupid to me. But it's just always like interesting to see like the Saints. Like every time I'm watching them, no matter how crazy it goes, especially when it was with Drew Brees, the amount of high scoring it went, like it would go in the 30s, the 40s, like even 50 points. Like the one I can remember is the Saints Giants game when it was like 42-42. Just like crazy to see how Drew Brees put up like so many points with that offense too.
Yeah, that's why I just wish, it obviously it's not possible, but if Drew Brees could have played with in those years with the defense we have now, it would have been, pretty unstoppable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Mike, did you have any more question for Jason?
Not really. I mean, okay. This is kind of an interesting question about the Saints. So, what did you think about like the Hurricane Katrina season? I mean, do you remember back then? I mean, obviously that was a big, what do you call it? Season for the Saints team. They obviously rallied around the community, and the stadium itself served a huge impact for the people of New Orleans. So just, interested to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I just think that's one of the things, part of our history. I think, you look at that team, and you just look at the organization in general. Gail Benson, Gail and Tom Benson, the owners, obviously the amount that they've done, bringing the community together. And I just think, that I've never been down there, but you could just tell that the Saints fans down there, they're so involved and they're, so supportive. And I just think that the whole community in general, the whole community down there in New Orleans is just special. And I think that the Saints kind of show with their teams and that they really are, a great organization.
Yeah, it goes to show you how football is not just a sport. It's also people, community. They use the stadium as a place for people to stay when their houses were gone. So, it's just another example of how football is more than just a sport and more than just a game. It's really an important part of society and important part of America. So that's interesting. And then, so since like you say, you've never been in New Orleans and you're a Saints transplant, like Jeremy and I were Packers transplants. I guess, what's the Saints like online community about it? Is there you follow any YouTube people, Reddit? Like, kind of how do you keep up with the team? And is there a good community around that? Being living in Pennsylvania, being from New York, but following a football team from Louisiana.
Yeah, and I'll say this: I usually keep up just with Twitter, seeing like updates, injury updates and stuff like that, just team updates in general. I would say obviously not a lot of Saints fans here in Pennsylvania. I don't think none that come to mind for me. But I just think and I have a few friends like I said from New York that are Saints fans, so I keep in touch with them and we talk Saints football. So when this time rolls around each year, it's exciting to see how our team's going to be and just what kind of impact they're going to make this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been the Packers. It's they have a great online community of fans. So, like from our perspective, not living in Green Bay is just okay because there's a lot of camaraderie and places to go on the internet to follow. So it sounds like there's a similar, if not maybe not as robust as the Packers landscape, because I think really the Packers probably are one of the better kind of fandoms out there that have content. And there's so many Packers podcasts. This one being one of them, but there's so many other ones that even put out more content, much more content than we do. So it's good that it seems like there's some place for you guys to go for content, even though you don't live in New Orleans. So that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. All right. Before we close out here, we'll do our predictions, and then we'll ask Jason like another question or two before we head out. We'll start with our special guest here. Let's pick the game here. Jason, who do you have winning this game, and what is the score going to be?
Give me the Saints, of course. And as for the score, I expect, maybe like a 24-14 game. I don't think it's not going to be high scoring. I think, if we can get going, I think if we start off early pretty good, I like our chances of if Jordan Love needs to, put points on the board, I like our chances of stopping him. And also, Aaron Jones is going to be kind of a big question mark whether he's going to play, because obviously you touched on A.J. Dillon hasn't been spectacular, and you would need. I think Aaron Jones would help a lot coming into this week, but I just think I'm gonna say Saints 24-14.
All right, we'll go to Mike, and then we'll end it with me of the prediction.
Jason forgot that I'm going to the game.
We're putting up 24 anyway.
So I'm going to say it's Packers 20, Saints 0.
Okay.
No, I'm not actually say it.
Of course, Mike has to do that.
Okay, so realistically, I think it's going to be a close game. I would definitely take the under, so I agree with Jason on that one. I am not going to put my money on it. But as I'm going to the game, and I really don't want to come home a loser, I am going to go with the Packers. I think the Packers at home with, hopefully Aaron Jones coming back, hopefully Christian Watson coming back. I think they'll pull it out. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll probably be, a low score. I'll keep the Packers around 20 points. But I'll give the Saints 17. Let's call it 2017 Packers. But I can see it going the other way pretty easily. I think the Saints probably have a good chance to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to put any money on the Packers, but I am going to go with the Packers more out of being a homer than anything.
Yeah. I'm going to go kind of almost the same shoes as Mike. I got to go for my team no matter what. I'll be supporting whether you're going to get blown out against like the Chiefs if you have Jordan Love. I do think it's going to be a low-scoring game, though. I'm going to take the Packers 21-17. I think Love's going to put up the 3 tutties because he's had 3 tutties in each of his games he's played. 6-0, best TD interception ratio in the NFL as of right now.
I didn't even pay attention.
I mean,
he hasn't had an interception.
No, he hasn't. He's had the interesting fact, though, even though despite it being 2 games, he's had a better touchdown interception ratio than Patrick Mahomes, than Tom Brady, than Aaron Rodgers to start out the year sometimes, which is kind of crazy to see that. Plus, along with the other guys, like right now, Joe Burrow, you can go Jalen Hurts, obviously, Josh Allen. Kind of crazy to see that a little bit. Kind of crazy to see that. But I do think it's going to be a big – the offense for the Packers is going to be a big dependence whether Aaron Jones plays or not. But I do think the interesting thing, though, is that red zone. Whether it's for both sides. Saints' defense is very good for the red zone, but so is the Packers' defense. They kept shutting out the Bears and limiting up field goals, so with the Falcons pretty much the whole game. I think the red zone is going to be the determination to see whether each team's going to do well or not. Both are like mid offenses, I would say, at this point, but the defenses are like top 10s in my opinion. But I still think the Packers are going to win if Aaron Jones plays. If Aaron Jones plays, then I have a good chance that the Packers could win. I'm not going to take like the shutout here because I don't think the Packers will ever get that. I don't know when that's going to happen. Sorry, Mike, even though he's 2-0 with that. I think he's going to be 2-1 of the shutout part. Packers still winning here, so got that for the Packers winning here. Taking the dub there for the Packers.
If the Packers somehow shut out the Saints, it's not a coincidence. That would be insane. Go to 3 games in Lambeau Field, and all 3 of them are shut out. Although again, I did go to the preseason game, and the Packers did give up points there. So I have seen an opposing team score against the Packers in Lambeau, but it didn't count, and the game didn't even finish. So that would be crazy. 3 regular season games, 3 shutouts. That would be insanity.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's going to.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we head out once again, I'd like to give a round of applause to Jason. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for coming up.
Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, if the Packers Saints meet each other in the playoffs, maybe we'll have you on again.
All right, sounds good.
We gotta all make the playoffs, and we'll win each ball.
Yeah,
we'll be a lot more excited than we are now. Right now it's week 3. We're still getting kind of into the to the swing of things. But if both these teams make the playoffs, which is not, I don't think a given for either one. That'd be good.
Yes. Jason, where can the folks find you? Because the fans will want to know where they can find you.
Find me on Instagram, Jason_Lutz 13. And yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, we always like to do a tradition here before we head out. What we like to say here, Jason. We're not going to say who that. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's not allowed on the Saints part here. But Mike always knows what to say here. Mike, what do we?
Wait, hold up. What about what you're doing? You're not doing anything so far. Like, what are you doing in your YouTube world? Give us an update.
Oh, the YouTuber. Sorry.
Jason. I heard about Jason. What about you? And myself too. Not that I'm doing anything.
All right. Sorry. All right. Okay. Well, Mike, we'll go with you, then we'll end with me. Sorry about that.
It's all right. I'm not doing anything. I'm just doing PackReacts. Now we're live streaming on Twitter, so I'm doing something there. But we had our strategy meeting, and not much came out of it. I was supposed to do the what do you call it? Aaron Rodgers 65% tracker that lasted all 4 plays. So I need to find a new project for this year. That was supposed to be my project for this year, and it died. So maybe we'll see if Rodgers comes back later in the season after his ayahuasca, treatment that he's trying to do.
Yeah, I mean,
PackReacts. I got to get back on the meme game. Maybe I'll try doing that this week. But I'll be in Green Bay, so that's where you can find me. If you're in Green Bay, please reach out. I'll be trying to get some tailgating done. I got to reach out to the Cheesehead TV guys that I met. If you're in Green Bay, Cheesehead TV is now doing one of those things where they go around with what do you call it? A mic and try to get people to do short videos and kind of give their input before the game. So that should be fun. But yeah, I'll be in Friday to Monday, and it should be a fun game. So there's a concert, I believe, Saturday night. Going to try to go to that. I don't know who's playing, or I actually do know. I don't remember their name, but I've never heard of them. But I'll try to listen to their music beforehand. But Lambeau's always a fun time, especially never been to a season opener before, so that should be interesting.
It is very fun going to that. I went that last year. I won NFL tickets off the raffle, and I won it.
You did.
It's amazing.
That was the home opener?
That was the home opener against the Bears.
Right.
And that was fun going on the field, and you get like good shots like the opposing team, but also like I very close up shot of Mason Crosby and Christian Watson. Amazing time to see that. It's pretty awesome if you get to go on like the field access before game. Whether you're a fan of the Packers or opposing fan, it's just awesome to go on that.
Right.
Very awesome. Yeah. You could do a vlog, Mike, if you really want to get it going of like your Packers experience.
I was going to do that when I was out in the Patriots game. I did it for a little bit, and then I was like, I don't know what to say. Mm-hmm. But maybe I'll try it. I'll definitely tweet a little bit. I'll come up with some things to do.
All right. There you go. All right, folks. We always know where to find me on this channel, obviously. So make sure you hit the like on the video of the stream here and subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. 1 sub away from 260, so get that going. Hey, there we go. Get the bell ring.
You got one too. Look at that. Is that the Liberty Bell?
Yeah, this is the Liberty Bell. I would ring this every time a Phillies postseason home run happened last year. I rang that a lot.
Yeah. I have a bell myself.
So yeah. There's that. Updates on the channel here. I already made a post about it earlier, but try and getting quarterbacks out very soon this next week of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Drew Brees might be on the list. Maybe not. He might be honorable mention. I mean, there's too many. There's too many to put on the conversation.
There's not too many for Drew Brees not to make the list.
I don't know.
What is it? Top 10?
No, it's 5 players, and you have an honorable mention.
Who's your guest for this one?
I got 2 guests on. I got
2 guests
and Phil.
Oh, I guess I didn't make the cut, huh?
Well, you can make the cut on future videos, Mike. This was for
you're still doing what do you call it? What do you call it? These GOAT series? I thought you were done.
No, I never got to edit the quarterbacks. I never.
So you already filmed it.
I already filmed it. It's pretty much edited, and I always have to put the graphics in, and then it's done. But I'm putting out 2 bonus episodes since everyone loved it. So having that happen,
You
and
should be like the greatest athletic trainer, you know,
I could do that.
or like greatest owner. That's actually not a bad idea. Greatest owner.
I think we won that, Mike. I think we won that, clearly.
Or
But
greatest cap guy. Russ Ball, I think, is going to be on that list up there.
yeah, I mean that's one put up there. But yeah, Drew Brees, you'll find out if he's on the list or not, Jason. You'll find out.
We'll be tuning in.
I mean, there's a couple guys up there that I don't think that should be in consideration, but they're in consideration. So have to see him wait there. Have to see him wait. But folks, appreciate everyone tuning in. We're back at Pack Reacts, and next Thursday is it, Mike? We play the Lions.
Yeah.
So we'll be.
Yeah, you're right.
So
We'll be
we'll
live streaming that?
Yeah. Isn't that the next week or is it 2 weeks?
Yeah. I think you're right. It is next week. So we got to talk to John if he wants to live stream that game with us.
Yes.
He's
So
coming out next week regardless. And I'll talk to him this week.
Okay. So we will be live streaming the game and we see if John wants to come on next week. So yes, we have that. Jason, do you have anything left to say for the Saint fans or Saints fan base out there?
I'm just gonna say who dat. We ride.
All right. Mike, what do we like to say here before we close out our segments?
Jason's not going to say this with us, though. He's going to have to get his flag off the wall and hold it up.
Yeah. Take the flag off.
He's going
Up.
to be saying "who day" instead, right? But yeah.
Yeah.
Pack, go, Jeremy.
Play it.
Go, Pack, go.
Go.
Go, Pack,
Pack,
go.
go.